Well, who'd have thought? It's the middle of January, and only now in Ballater are we getting a little bit more back to normal. It was the most terrible start of the year in Ballater. I think for the first 12 days of the year we've had snow, and it's not been easy. And I apologise, first of all, to all of you who are hopefully enjoying this newsletter, because we've not had a newsletter since November, to let you know what's been happening. I do apologise if you've come to the door of the gallery in Ballater during the first 2 weeks of January and we've been closed when we should have opened. But honestly, Aberdeen and Ballater, trying to commute, Fiona, Helen, John, everybody, the team have not been able to, some of them, get out of their driveways near here. So anyway, let's not be negative, let's be upbeat. The worst is over and the roads are cleared and maybe things are back to normal. So, if you remember rightly, the small painting show started at the very beginning of December, I think. And here we are, as I say, in the middle of January, and we're now in full flow with small paintings at the Ballater Gallery at the High Street in Ballater. So it's been a great success, and I think Tom gives me stats. I think, did you say, Tom, just over 200 small paintings sold at the moment out of about 400, is that right? And we've been adding on. So I'm going to tell you how it all works. If you have a look here, a lot of these paintings might not have been in the catalogue. Well, I'm just looking up, for example, at the Astrid Trug up at the top right. I remember Astrid sent, I think, 3 or 4, and we just have the one left. And in fact, if you look here at Gail Pope's, I know that Gail had a real run in selling robins and different things, so she also has sent new stock. And interestingly, David Smith, who's incredibly successful here, has added on quite a few more, and maybe up to 15 paintings. Here, take a trip round here, please, Tom, to this side. And, you know, the small painting show is a funny thing, because last year, I don't think she'll mind me telling you, within 1 hour of us going live online, the highly successful Kirsty Wither sold 6 paintings in the first night. Couldn't quite work it out, because lo and behold, I think Kirsty had sent up maybe 8 paintings. We looked at second week and Kirsty hadn't sold anything. But then things change. And I think now 5 have all sold. It's very, very weird. Michael Clark. Mike's always got lots happening. He's huge demand. These small paintings of the golfers and the lady with the dog are so beautiful. And again, he's added on extras to us. If you were to say to me have been some of the most successful paintings of the show, Tony Elaine, massively successful in terms of numbers sold, and this beautiful is called Ethereal Effect, often of his where he lives in Perthshire. And these 8 by 8 inch paintings are all originals and only £250. So he also has added on more for us. Let's go to the window, Tom, for a second. This is giving you an example, because when the small painting show started years ago at some of the top galleries in the country, like Billcliffe, like Open Eye, the paintings were often just postcard size. But if you look here at Nicola McBride, she's added on, because it's often easier for her to paint larger size. This is all painted, a bottle of Jack Daniels with biro pen, her signature medium, and 47 centimetres by 16.5 centimetres, that's about 2 feet. It's still just £450 for this incredible unframed piece of art. And similarly, David Smith doesn't paint in watercolour as much, but if you look at these beauties, they're big, you know. He's mounted them, and we allow a bit of freedom with this. Mackerel Study watercolour, and that also is just £450. So I think nothing's broken. I think what I'd like to do also, though, is explain what we're doing. It is a newsletter after all. And if you look behind me, and This is a cracking big acrylic by Anne Oram. I absolutely love this painting. I think personally it's one of Anne's best. And look, it's got a beautiful frame, I think from Art Hire in Glasgow, utterly gorgeous. £6,250. The size is 86 by 80, I think, which is about a metre by a metre. And what we're doing is we're bringing out from time to time a few big pieces to let people coming to Ballater know that it's not all about small paintings. So we're having Michael Clark sending new paintings. Lots of them are sending, and Jack Morocco's painting for me at the moment because he didn't put small paintings in. Look at this, huge piece. Colin Fraser painted 4 small paintings, do you think it was, Tom? For us, they were all at the top end of the price, about 950 each. They all sold instantly. But this is Wham Bam Serious by Colin Fraser. San Remo painted egg tempera. The actual the egg tempera on board is 1.2 by 0.8, so 122 by 80 centimetres, which is roughly about 1.5 metres. So that's about, I don't know, Tom, is that about 5 feet high? So if you're looking for a huge statement piece, how could you do worse than a Colin Fraser or an Anne Oram? Or down on the floor here, Tom, we've got these. I've just brought these out from Aberdeen today because somebody wants to see the Muriel Barclay of the nude. Muriel's not painting as many nudes or dancers, and I think this is stunning. And look again at the quality of the frame. And if you go to the right, Tom, Ryan Mutter has been painting wonderful, wonderful landscapes, totally away from his industrial scenes of Glasgow. Down on this side of the floor, please, Tom. Astrid Trug has painted 5 new paintings, which I think we may have hinted at back in November. They are absolute crackers, using dry pigment, gesso, collage, graphite and beeswax and glues to get this lovely muted, understated effect. Poissonnerie, you know, I mean, we're next door to the most incredible restaurant, the Fish Shop, and here we have our own fish shop, and by way of a painting. If you wouldn't mind, Tom, just having a quick look at this utterly happy, joyous painting of Ballater in the snow. I can assure you it's not been happy and joyous in reality here of late, but this, I've got to be very careful I don't buy paintings just for myself, but this, in this beautiful frame, I think could go as easily in a study or a bedroom as it could as an above a fireplace piece. Fabulous oil painting by David Smith of the Ballater Green and the church just arrived. And look here, we'll finish off talking about bigger pieces. We brought out something slightly seasonal in December. Surprised this great big stunner from Georgina McMaster. It's about, including the frame, about 1.2 by 1.2 metres. Look at the depth and ability from Georgina of the bumblebees against the head of the flower and I think it's a poppy, isn't it? Just an absolutely great painting. Imagine if you had a darkish corridor and you wanted something to walk along the corridor and meet you at the end, or you've just put in again a big white poke and pull or miele kitchen and you want one wall to have a splash of colour. That could work. I wanted to talk also, just because it is a newsletter today, about our bronzes. So David Meredith has been working non-stop because he's run out of bronzes because his limited editions have all sold. So he's sculpted a new piece which is very, very similar to the one which sold out. They call this small, but I mean, this is not small. I mean, this is about 2 feet high. In fact, 49 centimetres by 38 centimetres. And we've popped it next, as Tom will view, into a much, much bigger one. This is a whole new edition. This is a serious piece of bronze. 64, Tom, if you look there. And in fact, if we look right across here, that's about 19 inches the whole space width, and in fact the base is about 13 inches. It's a huge, big, chunky piece of bronze. But you don't have to go that big to get new pieces by David Meredith, because look at this. In fact, if you want to go in, Tom, and have a look at the sparrows, the 3 sparrows at the bottom, and then I'll let you, that's only £1,850 for a gorgeous piece of solid coal bronze, and this big kestrel, 59 centimetres tall, is £1,800. And editions, I think, they vary from maybe 50 in the edition to maybe 120, depending on what we have. If you want to just have a wee look there, Tom. So hopefully what we're wanting you to appreciate is that whilst the small painting show is going on in Ballater until the end of February, we're still open 5 days a week, weather permitting, only closed on a Tuesday. But keep an eye on our website to look at our most popular artists dropping paintings in of all size to our website now. They're arriving mainly to Aberdeen or the store in Ballater, but we can get these all around Scotland. We're dropping off paintings next week in Glasgow and Edinburgh and London. And I'll tell you a bit more about what's happening. Let's have a seat. Do you know, it's funny, just as Tom and I took a quick breather there before I sat down to sort of answer your questions and do the usual that we try and pull together every time we have a newsletter. And Tom and I were just saying, it's been a funny couple of months. It's not been particularly wild. It's not been particularly bad, but it's been peculiar. I think business in general is peculiar. And I picked up this bronze here from David Meredith, and we all loved this, and these sold incredibly quickly, and we didn't think we would ever have any left. Lo and behold, I just noticed that one must have flown in and lain here, and we do. Anyway, I digress, because it was just really, we weren't sure what would sell, what wouldn't sell, whilst the small paintings show was on. And it's interesting because Dale Bisland sold very well in small paintings, and then a lovely young lady got in touch with me and wanted to buy as a gift his gorgeous painting, Spring Lambs, and snapped that up for a Christmas present, which we gift wrapped and delivered and all the rest of it. And not that that was a surprise that it sold, but it was just the fact that people were buying gifts, I think, differently from maybe how they were last year. David Schofield's painting, I think it was called Winged Garden, also sold very quickly as a gift. And these aren't huge paintings by any means, but there was a lot of gift buying going on. Sorry, what I'm trying to say is we thought all the gift buying would be small paintings, unframed, all around me, £200 to £900, but people still bought framed paintings as well. An incredible painting, I'm so delighted, sold just a couple of days ago by Glenn Schooler, great big oil, well, not great big oil, but lovely sized oil, called Winter Hen Houses, one of my favourite schoolers, because it showed Glenn's massive ability of loosely painting with oil and managing to achieve blue in a different way than other artists can manage. And just have a, you're probably looking at it now as Tom drops it in, but Winter Hen Houses, it just evoked coldness and the hens looking to be fed. And that painting, £7,250, is being delivered to an avid collector in Glasgow. Actually goes on and leads on to something for me, because people do ask us, how's business? Is it good? Is it bad? And not in a sort of schadenfreude way, but can be. And it is funny because the art world, and I was sad to hear about the closure of the Roger Bilcliffe Gallery in Glasgow, just off Blythswood Square, because I'd bought there, went to their parties throughout the 90s, and Roger and his wife Christine became friends of mine because we lived beside one another in the West End, and and worked together when I was working in Bath Street. Used to love popping around to see what I could buy from Billcliffe at lunchtime. So end of an era, and people often email me questions about, David, could you value this for insurance? David, could you give an opinion on this? No, I can't, because I'm not qualified to do that. Roger Billcliffe was, and he represented Glenn Schooler, and that was the first time that I was made aware of Glenn's work, and it was also in restaurants like October and things like that. And anyway, I'm waffling a bit here, but it was really lovely to sell that painting and off to someone in Glasgow. And I think if you do look through our website, you will just regularly just see a painting that drops in and means something to you. And if I had to be totally honest and said maybe a couple of paintings, David, tell us that you liked. I loved this painting of Ballater, which we spoke about earlier, from David Smith. I loved The Winter Hen House by Glenn Schooler. And the Anorum, which we talked about earlier, the way she's captured the oranges of a still life and the ranunculus, I think are all terrific paintings, as is the Astrid Trug. So I'm surrounded by beautiful art. So I always worry, and Tom and I have been held up because of snow and everything in the last few days, and we've not really had time to rehearse anything. So Tom has compiled, I'm just glancing over, some questions that you've emailed for the newsletter. So, June in Perth, I'm racking my brains, and I've a funny feeling I know who June in Perth is, but I couldn't swear to it. David, we loved your Callum Stevenson Meet the Artist video, as we are regular Sky Portrait Artist of the Year viewers. I was, but not so much over the last few years, for no reason, but anyway, it's not about me. June in Perth continues. The huge light in the leaves was out with our price range. I think it was about 12,000, wasn't it? But sold instantly here. Callum Stevenson is our newest signing, but we're wondering, we didn't move quickly enough to buy his small paintings on the small paintings when the website went shop. Oh, sorry, June. You did have to be quick. And Callum's two small paintings went instantly, and they were close to the top end £1,000 mark. Any plans for new work from Callum? Yes, is the answer, June from Perth. Callum is painting for me at the moment, and I'm not going to give any clues because he is a very successful man, knows where he's going, and I will wait till I receive the paintings. But yes, all three, the great big one, the two small paintings, sold instantly. So who's that, Tom? Gordon and Angela from Mulgai. I used to live in Bearsden, so not Gordon and Angela. Gosh, I'm wondering if I know them too. David, we loved it when you delivered to our home during the pandemic, and it was fabulous to meet Basil. Oh dear. And we haven't seen him in recent videos. Is he okay? You might have told me about that one, Tom. Basil's fine. Basil is 14. Basil's in his own little world now as a miniature schnauzer he would be. He still loves his steak, his gravy, but he has a bit of dementia, according to two vets, and he's quite blind and quite deaf. So I'm not going to confuse Basil too much further by bringing him into videos. But he's still going strong and enjoys the finer things in life. Who else could that be said about? But thanks, Gordon and Angela. I think I do know exactly who you are now. Seem to be an awful lot of questions, Tom. Stephen and Henley. I was in Henley recently. This is quite bizarre, Tom, that you've picked these. We were up in Braemar at Christmas and popped into your lovely gallery and bought two of your small paintings by David Smith. We love his work, but is it only Scotland he paints? No. What were the names? Stephen and Henley. Stephen. No. David Smith. I feel as if I'm defending David Smith here. David Smith, RSWRGI, does sometimes paint in France. But David is probably the most active, seriously fit guy in, I hate to say it, his late 60s that you could meet. And he tends to paint, take notes in a sketchbook and paint en plein air. And Stephen, I think the best idea might be to email me directly at david@ballatergallery.co.uk, because if you're wanting something specific to, well, I know Henley pretty well and parts of Buckinghamshire, and it might be something specific you're thinking about. David might, through ourselves, paint something for you. Talk to me directly about that. I don't think he's been in France of late, so I don't know if there are many paintings going around there either. Gosh, Tom, where have these all built up? Is it, well, Karen in Merchiston. Merchiston? Yes. We bought a SLG from you what's an SLG, Tom? It's Stuart Luke Gatherer from you 5 years ago. I utterly love it. We saw you sell a big one at about £16,000 recently, and it's got us thinking about a commission. How does this happen? I am sorry, we haven't really planned this that well, because that's talking about commissions. Yes, commissions is a fairly biggish part of what I do with my artists on behalf of clients. I'd probably rather, if you're thinking about a commission, that you just email me rather than I bore everybody else who's listening to this newsletter. david@ballatergallery.co.uk, Stuart Luke Gatherer, Ian Faulkner, Alistair Little, particularly with this figurative work, have all painted commissions. And Stuart Luke Gatherer, yes, let's talk about that on an email. I can't show you examples of commissions that readily here because I would need to have permission from the client, because obviously commissions don't go on the website. But yes, let's have a chat about that. And you can imagine the way Stuart Luke Gatherer paints so figuratively. We've actually just sold one of Stuart's paintings with the cherry blossom just coming in. Tom will show you that of a lovely lady, still life, and the couple just totally fell for it. Last one, Tom, I think we better round up. Alicia and Robin of London. Alicia and Robin. We absolutely love our painting, but we looked at your website recently and saw an incredible new painting which reminded us of our trip up north. However, this Alistair Little, which is just sold, we truly love. How do we get to know about new paintings? Yes, Tom, that's the new Alistair Little, which you're welcome to drop in. As soon as Alistair had finished his hugely successful run of paintings for the Small Painting Show, I asked him if he would, because he'd been up in this area, he lives outside London, but he'd been up and had painted a scene that reminded him of the bar at the Fife Arms Hotel. And I asked him if he would do something very similar. And lo and behold, much bigger painting, about 2 feet by 2 feet. It's dropping in now, so I can't remember the name exactly. And it's sold in the first day that it popped into the website. So I think you're asking, why didn't you know about it? Well, it's pretty difficult for us to keep totally in control, and we do have a small team of people, but we like to give you notice. But I think the best way would be, Alicia and Robin of London, is to actually keep in touch with me, david@ballatergallery.co.uk. If you tell me that you're after something, because then I'll drop you a note privately and let's see what we can. And these things are probably all running into the fact, if you loved something, and I hate to tell you, Alicia and Robin, but some people do, not you, but some people do have a habit of saying, oh, if only I'd known, if only I'd seen it, I'd have bought it. Very seldom would have, but I do believe you. But I think what I'm saying is, let me know what you're after. Let's see if we can come up with an idea, perhaps a commission, that's something very similar, not identical, is painted. So I hope I've covered enough there, Tom. Sorry, these have all taken me aback a little bit, because marginally repetitive what people are asking. But you're welcome to ask us any questions. And Tom's just told me that these have all come in since Christmas, so that's thrown me a bit. But hopefully we're doing as much as we can. We seek to please all of you and try and curate paintings which you will all love. But we can't please everybody. Somebody, I'll give you a little story just as you're leaving, came in here and I was working. I was very tired and had been zooming around here. I can't remember, between Christmas and New Year, and ignored everything that was on the walls and brought out their phone. Would I like to look at paintings by one of their family members? In fact, I don't think they even said that. They just pushed it right there and said, oh, her paintings are much better than yours. And you think, oh, and they certainly weren't, albeit they were very nice. And you sometimes think, gosh, there's so much going on in a gallery, and Tom and I were just saying probably every day we get emails from artists, and that's the way to put it now, wanting to show. We can't please everybody. We know there's artists who would love to show here, and for different reasons, we don't maybe think we might get it wrong, that they might not sell here. But at this moment, we're not planning on any new additions to our stable because we've got now Simon Laurie, we've got Callum Stevenson, and yes, occasionally we'll lose a few who don't sell well here, but all I can say is we'll try to keep you all as happy as we can, and some different names and more ceramics. I'd like to get more of these as well. So anyway, I feel as if it's waffling a little bit, so I'm going to round up here now, and hopefully you've found this little update of why the small paintings is here, why we've got a few big paintings, and why, if you have any specific questions, get in touch with me directly. Thanks.